The champagne tasted like regret. Zarya pressed the crystal flute to her lips without drinking, watching Marcus across the ballroom. His hand rested on her waist, the woman he'd left Zarya for 6 months ago, the one with the trust fund and the laugh that carried across marble floors like it owned the space. The Harrison Foundation Gala hummed with old money. Chandeliers dripped light onto designer gowns worth more than Zarya's annual salary at the architecture firm. She shouldn't have come. Pride had dressed her in borrowed confidence and a black dress that clung perfectly, and now she stood at the edge of everything she'd never truly belonged to. Marcus looked up. Their eyes met. He smiled, that same smile he'd used when calling her too intense for his world. Zarya's chest tightened. She turned blindly, colliding with warmth and wool. Steady. The voice was low, controlled. She looked up into dark eyes that held no judgment. The man stood utterly still amid the churning crowd, an island of quietness in expensive tailoring. His jaw was sharp, his brown skin smooth under crystal light. He didn't smile, didn't move beyond that single word. Something in his stillness made her reckless. "Kiss me." The words escaped before thought could cage them. "Please, can you just kiss me?" His expression didn't change, but his eyes flickered. Recognition, maybe. Warning. "You don't know me," he said quietly. "I know. That's why I'm asking." The ballroom noise faded. She registered details in fractured snapshots. The precise knot of his burgundy tie, the faint scent of cedar and something darker, the way he held himself like a man accustomed to being watched. He raised one hand slowly, gave her time to step back. She didn't. His fingers brushed her jaw, angling her face upward. The touch sent electricity racing down her spine. When his thumb traced her cheek, her breath hitched audibly. "Close your eyes," he murmured. She obeyed. The kiss came soft, restrained. His lips pressed to hers with deliberate gentleness, as though she might shatter. It lasted 3 heartbeats, maybe 4, long enough for her to feel the rigid control in his body, the tension coiled beneath careful touch, long enough to taste mint and danger. He pulled back. His hand lingered against her skin half a second too long. Zarya's eyes opened, the world reformed sharper, edges too bright. She became aware of the silence spreading outward from where they stood. Conversations died, heads turned. The man's gaze hadn't left her face. "You should go." Not a suggestion, a command wrapped in velvet. She couldn't finish, couldn't look away from those eyes that had shifted from dark honey to something harder. A woman in diamonds materialized at his elbow, whispering urgently. He didn't acknowledge her, didn't break eye contact with Zarya. "Thank you," Zarya managed. The words felt absurd. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have—" "Don't apologize." Zarya stopped her retreat. "But go, now." She went. The crowd parted with deference she didn't understand. She felt their stares like brands between her shoulder blades. Her face burned, her lips tingled. When she glanced back, he remained exactly where she'd left him, surrounded by a loose circle of people who maintained respectful distance. Someone near the door murmured a name as she passed. Keon Thorne. The words meant nothing to her, but the reverence in the speaker's tone made her stomach drop. Outside, November air hit like a slap. Zarya pressed her back against cold stone, breath fogging. Her phone buzzed. "Amara, how's the torture going?" She couldn't begin to explain. Humiliation tangled with something dangerously close to exhilaration. She'd asked a complete stranger to kiss her in front of 300 people, crossed some invisible line she hadn't known existed, and she wanted to do it again. Zarya pressed fingers to her mouth, still feeling the ghost of his touch, the way he'd held her face, the restraint in his body even as he gave her what she'd begged for. Who was Keon Thorne? Her hands shook as she ordered a rideshare, not from cold, from the certainty that she'd just made a mistake she couldn't undo. Inside, Kian stood motionless while his legal counsel spoke numbers. He wasn't listening. For the first time in 6 years, his mind had gone utterly blank. All he could feel was the phantom warmth of her skin. All he could taste was her desperation wrapped in courage. He'd spent a decade building walls. She'd walked through them with 3 words and eyes that held no idea what she'd touched. His phone vibrated. Security. Want to find out who she is? Kian stared at the screen, deleted the message. He didn't need to know her name, because he already knew he'd see her again. Behind him, someone whispered about the board meeting Monday, the Riverside project, the investors. Kian turned and walked towards the exit, leaving a room full of powerful people waiting on words he had no intention of giving. Hello, everyone. Before we continue, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more romantic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our story. Monday morning arrived dressed in frost and false confidence. Zarya adjusted her portfolio, heels clicking across the marble lobby of Thorn Cower. 53 floors of glass and steel that refracted the city skyline into geometric poetry. She'd been pitching designs for 2 years. Today was different. The Riverside Project. Urban renewal meets affordable housing, the kind of commission that could redefine a career. Her reflection ghosted across elevator doors. Sharp blazer, hair in a professional twist, lipstick applied with the precision of war paint. She looked nothing like the woman who'd begged a stranger for a kiss. That woman had been reckless. This woman had her life together. The lie tasted bitter. The elevator climbed. Zarya reviewed presentation notes, forcing her mind toward floor plans, not toward dark eyes and cedar scent and fingertips against her jaw. She had looked him up, of course she had. Kian Thorn, 34, billionaire CEO of Thorn Industries. His father had built an empire. Kian had tripled it. Business journals called him brilliant, ruthless, a man who'd never made a decision based on emotion. The photos showed someone carved from stone and an expensive ambition, which meant the kiss had been charity, a powerful man indulging a stranger's breakdown. The elevator chimed. 48th floor. Zarya stepped into a reception area that cost more than most houses, floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture that whispered money, a receptionist with a calibrated smile. Zarya Mitchell? Conference room 3, they're ready. Her heels sank into carpet that swallowed sound. When she reached the glass-walled conference room, she paused. 7 people sat around an ebony table. 6 she recognized from the project brief. The 7th sat at the head of the table, fingers steepled beneath his chin. Kian Thorn. Time fractured. His eyes lifted, found hers through glass. No surprise registered, just that same unreadable stillness. She watched his jaw tighten. A muscle jumped near his temple. Then nothing. Perfect control restored. The VP stood, gesturing her inside. "Miss Mitchell, thank you for coming." Zarya's legs carried her forward. She set her portfolio down with hands that wanted to shake. Professional smile, firm handshakes. She left Kian for last, though every cell screamed to acknowledge him first. His hand enveloped hers, warm, dry. He held contact half a second too long, his thumb brushing once against her knuckles. "Mr. Thorn," her voice came steady, a miracle. "Miss Mitchell," his tone revealed nothing. "I've reviewed your preliminary concepts. Interesting approach to mixed-use density." She couldn't read him, couldn't tell if this was torture or theater. "Thank you," she claimed the chair opposite him. "I believe sustainable development shouldn't sacrifice beauty for function." Noble, though beauty rarely survives budget constraints. Challenge? Warning? The presentation began. Zaria moved through slides with practiced ease, discussing green roofing and community integration and 30-year cost analysis. She felt Kian's gaze like physical weight, tracking her movements, dissecting every word. When Gerald Moss from development interrupted with a condescending question about structural feasibility, she answered with patience, learned from years of being the youngest woman in rooms full of dismissive men. Kian said nothing, just watched. Then Moss pushed harder. "I'm not sure someone of your limited experience can handle a project of this scope. Perhaps if you collaborated with Hendrick's firm. Miss Mitchell's experience includes Ashwood Commons and Ellis Street Corridor. Both delivered under budget and ahead of schedule. I suggest we focus on the proposal's merits rather than questioning credentials I've already vetted." Silence dropped. Moss deflated. "Of course, my apologies." Zaria's pulse hammered. Kian hadn't looked at her when he spoke, hadn't acknowledged defending her. He'd simply stated facts with flat authority. The meeting continued. By the end, 3 wanted to move forward, 2 remained skeptical, 1 abstained. Kian said, "We'll reconvene Thursday. Miss Mitchell, refine the South Quadrant by then. My office, 4 p.m. Bring revised plans." Not a request. The room emptied. Zaria gathered materials, hyper-aware of Kian still sitting. When the door closed behind the last executive, she turned. "Was this why you kissed me?" The accusation escaped. "Because you knew I'd be here?" He stood slowly. "I didn't know your name until this morning." "But you knew about this project." "I know everyone who pitches to my company." His gaze traveled across her face, clinical now. "I didn't connect you to the gala until you walked in." She wanted to believe him. Then why defend me? "Because Moss is an idiot whose insecurity wastes my time." Kian moved toward windows, putting distance between them. "Your design is solid. Your credentials speak for themselves. I don't tolerate incompetence in my boardrooms." How magnanimous. He turned. Something dangerous flickered. "Don't mistake professional courtesy for obligation, Miss Mitchell. I kissed you because you asked. I'm considering your proposal because it's worth considering. The two are unrelated." "Are they?" The air tightened like a drawn bowstring. "They need to be." His voice dropped. "Because if they're not, you'll lose this opportunity, and I'll lose something I'm not willing to lose." What? Control. The word hung crystalline between them. "Thursday, 4 p.m. Don't be late." He walked past without another glance. The door whispered shut. Her phone buzzed. An email. Temporary security clearance approved. Building access granted. She stared at the message, felt her carefully constructed life shift. What had she done? 3 floors up, Kian stood at the window watching the city blur. His reflection stared back, composed, untouchable, controlled. Inside, something howled. He'd lied. He'd known exactly who she was when security sent her files Sunday morning. He'd memorized every project, every award, every reason she was perfect for Riverside. And convinced himself he could sit across from her and feel nothing other than hollow efficiency. Another lie. When she asked if he'd kissed her because of the project, he'd wanted to tell the truth. He'd kissed her because for 3 seconds she'd made him feel something other than hollow efficiency. But admitting that would be the most dangerous thing he'd ever done. His phone rang. Project manager, permit delays. Kian answered without taking his eyes off the city. Business. Always business. Everything else was quicksand. The third late night that week, the office took on the quality of a confession booth. Zariah hunched over her drafting table in the workspace Kyan had assigned her, 2 floors below his office, glass walls and ergonomic furniture that cost more than her car. Rain-streaked windows. The building had emptied hours ago, leaving only security guards and the hollow echo of ambition. She'd been refining the South Quadrant for 6 days. Every iteration brought her closer to something brilliant and further from sleep. Footsteps approached. She didn't need to look up. Kyan's stride had a particular rhythm, measured, purposeful, the sound of someone who'd never rushed. "You're still here." Not a question. "So are you." Zariah straightened, pressing her palm against the small of her back where tension had knotted itself. "Thought billionaires had people to work late for them." "I do." He set 2 paper cups on her table. "Coffee, the expensive kind. I choose not to use them." She wrapped fingers around the cup's warmth, studying him. He'd shed his jacket, shirt sleeves rolled to elbows, revealing forearms corded with lean muscle. 5 o'clock shadow darkened his jaw. He looked almost human. Almost. "Why?" she asked. "Why what?" "Why choose to be here at 11 p.m. when you could be anywhere else?" Kyan's gaze traveled across her work, elevation drawings, material samples, sketches and margins too small for proper thoughts. "Because excellence requires presence. You can't demand it from others if you're not willing to give it yourself." "Sounds lonely." "It is." The admission came without hesitation. "But loneliness is predictable. It doesn't betray you." Zariah sipped coffee to buy time against sudden intimacy. They'd fallen into this pattern, late nights where conversations strayed from floor plans into dangerous territory. She'd learned he took his coffee black, that he'd taught himself piano but never played for anyone, that he read philosophy when he couldn't sleep, which was often. Small revelations that felt enormous. "Someone betrayed you," she said quietly. His expression shuddered. "That's not your concern." "I know, but I'm asking anyway." For a long moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he leaned back, gaze drifting to rain-soaked windows. "My business partner, 10 years ago. We'd built Foreign Industries Foundation together. He was my best friend. The night before we closed our largest acquisition, he sold proprietary data to our competitor and disappeared with $40 million. Zariah's chest tightened. "Did you find him?" "Eventually. The money was gone, the damage done." Kyan's voice remained level, but something cold moved behind his eyes. "I learned trust is a luxury I can't afford. That emotional attachment creates vulnerabilities people exploit." "That's a terrible way to live." "It's a safe way to live." "Same thing, isn't it, for you?" His gaze snapped back, sharp. "You think you understand me after a week of late nights?" "No." Zariah set down her cup deliberately. "But I understand being hurt badly enough to mistake isolation for protection. My ex-fiancé spent 2 years making me smaller, quieter. He said my ambition embarrassed him, that I should focus on supporting his career instead of building my own." "Why did you stay?" "Because I loved who I thought he was. Because leaving meant admitting I'd wasted 2 years believing I was the problem." She traced the rim of her cup. "The gala was the first time I'd been in the same room with him since we broke up. Seeing him with someone else, someone he didn't need to diminish, it broke something." "So you asked a stranger to kiss you?" "So I asked you." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "And you said yes, even though you didn't have to, even though it probably caused problems." "It did." "Then why?" Kyan was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Because you looked at me like I was just a man, not a bank account or opportunity, just someone who might understand needing an escape." His hand moved across the table, stopping inches from hers. Kyan's breath hitched, audible, human. His thumb traced slow circles against her knuckles. "This is a mistake." "I know. You work for me. There's a power imbalance." "Complicated, I know. But you're not forcing anything, and I'm not asking because I want something professionally. What are you asking for? I don't know yet. Honesty felt like standing naked. Maybe just to see what happens if we stop pretending this isn't here. His fingers threaded through hers. The simple contact felt more intimate than the kiss. No audience, no desperation, just two people choosing connection in a quiet office while rain erased the city. I don't know how to do this, the casual dating, the slow build. I've spent a decade keeping people at exactly the right distance. Then we figure it out together. Zariah squeezed his hand. No expectations, just... The door opened. They sprang apart. Gerald Moss stood in the doorway, expression sliding from surprise to calculation. Burning the midnight oil. How dedicated. Ice flooded Zariah's veins. The way he'd emphasized that last word, the knowing smirk. He'd seen, drawn conclusions. Kyan stood with fluid grace, mask snapping back. Did you need something, Gerald, or are you checking to ensure everyone's working as late as you're pretending to? Moss's smirk faltered. Just checking on Riverside, making sure we're on schedule. We are, you can go. Not a suggestion. Moss hesitated, then nodded curtly and left. Zariah exhaled shakily. He's going to tell people. Let him. Kyan's voice got flat, dangerous. There's nothing to tell beyond two colleagues working late. You know that's not what he saw. What he saw doesn't matter, but his jaw was tight, shoulders rigid. You should go home, get rest. The dismissal stung. Kyan, please. He wouldn't look at her. Just go. She gathered things in silence, feeling walls rebuild with every second. At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, I don't regret tonight. He said nothing, but when she glanced back, he was watching her with an expression that looked like grief. The elevator ride felt endless. Zariah's phone buzzed as she stepped into the empty lobby. Unknown number. Be careful with Kyan Thorne. He uses people, then discards them when they're no longer useful. You're just the latest project he's trying to acquire. Ask him about the Meridian deal. Her blood turned to slush. She stared at the message, then up at the building towering above. Somewhere in that glass cathedral, Kyan Thorne stood making decisions that would reshape her life. And she had no idea if she was a project to him or something more, or if there was any difference. Zariah didn't sleep. She spent the night researching the Meridian deal until her eyes burned. The story emerged across business journals. 5 years ago, Kyan had pursued a development project partnering with a small architectural firm. He'd wooed them with promises of creative control and profit sharing. Once they'd invested time and resources, he'd restructured, bought them out for a fraction of what they'd been promised, and completed the project alone. The firm folded within a year. The lead architect, Simone Reeves, had given one interview. Kyan Thorne doesn't see people. He sees assets to acquire and leverage to exploit. I hope the next person he targets learns that before it's too late. Dawn broke gray and cold. Zariah dressed for battle, sharp blazer, higher heels, red lipstick like armor. She arrived at Thorne Tower before 7, riding the elevator to the executive floor. She didn't check in, didn't knock. Kyan looked up as she entered, surprise flickering before calm settled back. Zariah, we don't have a meeting until... What's the Meridian deal? She closed the door with more force than necessary. And who's Simone Reeves? Something dark moved behind his eyes. Where did you hear those names? Does it matter? Is it true? Did you use her firm, then cut them out once you had what you needed? Kyan stood slowly. It's more complicated than uncomplicated, because right now it looks like a pattern, like I'm just another architect you're manipulating. That's not what this is. His voice went dangerously quiet. Then what is it? Her voice shook. What am I to you, Kyan? A project? An acquisition? You're... He stopped. Something cracked in his expression. You're the first person in 6 years who's made me want something beyond the next deal, who's made me feel anything other than hollow drive to win, and it terrifies me. So you're testing me? Seeing how far I'll bend? No. He closed the distance in 2 strides, hands coming up to frame her face. Touch sent electricity through her despite everything. I'm trying not to ruin this the way I ruin everything I touch. By lying? By keeping secrets? By protecting you from the truth about who I am. His thumbs traced her cheekbones. Simone Reeves was brilliant. I did offer partnership, but what articles don't mention is she used insider access to steal my designs and sell them to a competitor before the deal closed. I restructured to protect my company. She played victim when truth came out. Zaria wanted to pull away, create distance. And I'm supposed to just believe that? I have legal filings, evidence, settlement agreement where she admitted fault in exchange for my silence. Her forehead pressed to hers, breath warm against her lips. But I understand if you don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. Why didn't you tell me before? Because I don't explain myself to anyone. Because I've built my life on the principle that vulnerability is weakness. His voice dropped to something raw. Because you make me want to be different, and I don't know how without losing everything I've built. Zaria's hands gripped his wrists, not pulling away, anchoring. I don't need you to be different. I need you to be honest. I'm terrified of you. The confession came jagged, of what you make me feel, of how much I want things I convinced myself I didn't need. What things? Softness, trust, someone who sees past the empire to whatever's left underneath. His eyes searched hers, desperate. I don't know how to do this without destroying it, without destroying you. You don't get to make that choice for me. She pulled his hands from her face, holding them between their bodies. I'm not fragile. I'm not something you need to protect from yourself. Then what do you need? I need you to choose me. The words came fierce. Not because I'm a good investment, not because the project requires it, because you want to, because I'm worth the risk. His phone erupted. Not a buzz, full ringtone. He checked the screen, went still. I need to take this. What's wrong? Dubai investors just backed out. All of them, simultaneously. His voice went flat. Someone convinced them I'm too volatile. Who would... Moss has connections, old grudges. He's already moving toward his desk. This kills Dubai, maybe the entire eastern expansion. There has to be... There is. He pulled up files with mechanical efficiency. I can salvage it if I fly out tonight, smooth over relationships in person. 2 weeks, maybe 3. And Riverside? Kian stopped, looked at her, really looked. Gets delayed. Or I hand it off and hope my VP doesn't destroy what we've built. The choice hung between them, his company or her project, his empire or their fragile connection. You should go, Zaria said quietly. To Dubai. This is bigger than... Don't. He crossed back in 3 strides. Don't minimize what this is, what you are. I'm one architect, one project. You're talking about losing millions. I'm talking about losing something that actually matters. His hands framed her face. Money rebuilds. Empires rise and fall. But if I walk away right now to chase a deal, if I choose the safe thing over the real thing, I become exactly who I've been trying not to be. What are you saying? I'm saying I'll handle Dubai remotely. I'll lose some investors, take a financial hit, but I won't lose this. I won't lose you. He laughed, the sound edged with something wild. You've destroyed me, Zaria, completely unmade everything I built. His phone rang again. Kian ignored it. Tell me what you want. I want you to build your empire, but I want you to matter more than the next deal, more than the safe choice. You do. God help me, you do. Then prove it. Choose the risk. Choose me. He pulled back, picked up his phone, and dialed. Cancel the Dubai flight. Send Harris with full authority. His eyes never left her face. I'm staying to see through a commitment that actually matters. He hung up. That might cost you everything, Zarya whispered. Or it might save me from losing the only thing worth keeping. The fallout came swift. By Friday, 3 board members demanded Kian's resignation. Financial press ran headlines about concerning leadership instability. Dubai investors went public, triggering a sell-off that cost Thorne Industries $43 million in a single trading session. Zarya watched from her apartment while Amara supplied wine and commentary. This is because of you, Amara said carefully, not accusing, factual, because he chose you. I know, Zarya stared at news alerts detonating across her phone. I told him to go. He wouldn't listen. Men like Kian don't fail because someone told them differently. They fail because they finally chose what they actually wanted. Amara topped off Zarya's glass. What are you going to do? Her phone buzzed. Kian, I'm coming over. Don't argue. He arrived 20 minutes later, looking like he'd aged a decade. Tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled, exhaustion carved into his face. Amara grabbed her coat. I'm running an errand that'll take exactly 2 hours. The door clicked shut. Kian stood in Zarya's small living room and looked utterly displaced. I need you to know something before you decide whatever you're about to decide. Kian, please. He crossed to her, stopping close enough that she could see gold flecks in his eyes. I've spent 3 days in emergency meetings, damage control, everyone telling me I made a catastrophic mistake. Maybe they're right. They're wrong. He caught her hand, pressed it flat against his chest where his heart thundered. Because for the first time since I built this company, I'm making decisions based on what I actually want. And what I want is you. At what cost? You've lost millions. Money I'll make back. But if I'd gotten on that plane, his other hand cradled her face. If I'd chosen the safe thing, I would have become exactly the hollow bastard everyone thinks I am, and I'd have lost the only person who makes me want to be better. Your board wants you to resign. Let them want. I still hold majority shares. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. But I need to know if this is what you want, if I'm what you want, because I'm all in, Zarya, completely, and I need to hear you say it. Say what? That you choose this too, that when the dust settles, you'll still be here. This man who controlled billions standing in her small apartment asking to be chosen. I choose you, she said, not because you're a billionaire, not because of opportunities, but because you're honest about being terrified, because you kiss like I might disappear, because you make me want to be brave enough to match your risk. His exhale came shaky. I don't know how to do this, the relationship part. Then we figure it out together. She pulled him down until their foreheads touched. No more choosing safety over truth. What if I fail? Then you'll fail with me. She pressed her lips to his, soft and sure. I'm not going anywhere, so you'd better get used to having someone who won't let you hide behind your empire. He kissed her back with something that tasted like cedar and coffee and coming home. His arms pulled her close with a fierceness that suggested he'd been waiting years to hold someone like this. When they broke apart, his voice came rough. I'm calling a press conference Monday, addressing the board publicly, making it clear I choose differently now. And what does that mean? It means I'm restructuring, delegating Dubai, focusing on projects that matter instead of chasing acquisitions. He tucked hair behind her ear. It means building a life instead of just an empire, and I want you in it. As what? As my partner, in every sense. His lips curved, the first real smile in days. "Though I should warn you, I'm probably terrible at work-life balance." "Then I'll remind you, constantly, that's what partners do." She traced his jaw. "That's what partners do." Monday morning, Kian stood in a packed press room and did something he'd never done. Told the truth. Not polished corporate truth, the real one. He spoke about building an empire on control, meaning safety, about learning vulnerability wasn't weakness but courage, about making a choice that cost millions but gave him something infinitely more valuable. He didn't name Zarya, didn't make her part of the narrative. He simply said, "I've spent 10 years believing success meant never needing anyone. I was wrong. The strongest thing I've ever done is admit some things matter more than market share." When he walked out and found Zarya waiting in the hallway, everything else faded. "How'd it go?" she asked. "I have no idea." He pulled her close right there with journalists still filing past. "But I meant every word." "Good, because you're stuck with me now. Those are my favorite parts." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips. "Though I should mention, the board approved Riverside this morning. Full budget, full creative control." "You didn't—" "I didn't do anything except ensure the best architect got the job she earned." His smile turned wicked. "Though I may have reminded them discrimination lawsuits are expensive." "You're impossible." "I'm yours." He said it like a promise. "Completely. Probably forever if you'll have me." "Forever's a long time." "Good thing I'm patient." He kissed her again, tasting like cedar and coffee and coming home. "I'm absolutely and irrevocably in love with you." The words hung bright and certain. "That's the first time you've said that." "I should have said it sooner." His hands framed her face. "I love you, Zarya Mitchell, not because you're brilliant, not because you challenge me, but because you looked at me when I was just a stranger and asked for exactly what you needed, and somehow giving it to you gave me everything I'd been missing." "I love you too." The words came easy. "Even though you're impossible and controlling." "Then I guess it's good you're around to remind me what actually matters." What mattered was this: two people choosing each other despite every logical reason not to. The empire would survive, the deals would keep coming, but for the first time, Kian Thorne had something worth more than all of it combined. He had someone who chose him. Not his money, not his power. Thank you for joining us on Kian and Zarya's journey. Did their love story live up to your expectations? We have more breathtaking romance stories coming your way. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next emotional roller coaster. Drop a comment below. What was your favorite moment? And should we do a bonus epilogue showing their life 6 months ago? Your voice matters. Share your thoughts now.